All right, everyone, can you hear me? I am live. If you can hear me, just send a message or just notify me that you can see me, because obviously I'm new. I'm new to this streaming game, so I'm unsure if I'm actually live or if people are. I think that's Hell Dominance. He says morning. Well, you're in the same time zone as me, Hell Dominance. Don't you live over Wigan Way? So it's 11 o'clock here at night in England, 30th of September 2022. Oh, it's TGC Sports. Teriyaki Jerk Chicken Sports. All right there. Only 2 days out from grand final there. Or if you're in Australia, 1 day. But for us, it's technically two days until grand final. All right there, Warriors and NRL fanatics. Good morning there well, you live on the Gold Coast somewhere. Oh, tell Dominance. Aye. Confirmation we are live. And we've got 4 viewers at the moment. So we're all good to go. Oh, now we're down to 3 viewers. I mean, I got a lot of them. To be fair, like I got teriyaki jerk, chicken spots, Thai, jalfrezi curry spots. It's a name that you can just keep twisting the words and you go from there. But I have watched a lot of your videos this year, especially on the vlogs, and I think you must be quite young. I'm guessing you might be about 15 or 16 year old, because you were quite emotional when Parramatta made the grand final there, and I think you did say that it were the first time you would see Parramatta play in a grand final. So I imagine that you are quite young. For me, this will be my third time watching Parramatta play in a grand final. I watched 2001, 2009, and 2022. I'll be watching it. All 3 occasions where, I mean, all 3 grand finals are different. 2001, overwhelming favourites to win. Probably the shortest price favourites in New South Wales Rugby League NRL history to win the grand final, and we just played probably the worst half of rugby that we played for the entire year. Newcastle went out with that 24 now lead, and we didn't start playing until second half there, and we scored 24 points in the second half, and they scored 6, but we just run out of time. What time over there? It's 11:06 p.m. I thought I'd try to do this live stream as late as possible, because if I were to do it about 8 or 9 o'clock my time, people would still be in bed. People would still be asleep. I'm not expecting too many people to be on this live stream, but we'll see how we go. And of course, 2009, I was living in Sydney at the time. Pandemonium is one word I can describe it. That whole week leading up to the game and grand final day. I've only experienced 2 of the grand final weeks in Sydney like that, and that was 2014 with South, 2016 with Cronulla. But that 2009, that was something else. 17-year-olds. I was 4 when they last made it. Well, the first time that Parramatta made the grand final, I think I just turned 14-year-old, or maybe I'm 13-year-old, and I remember that that whole week, nobody really mentioned Newcastle. Nobody really spoke about them, especially on grand final day, because you can watch the match on YouTube. I'm pretty sure the Channel 9 commentary very rarely talk about Newcastle. It's just all Parramatta. The Daily Telegraph did a poster which said "Year of the Eels," and everyone were expecting the Parramatta to win. Because of course we'd been building to it. 1997 we come third. We got bullded out in straight sets. 1998 we should have made the grand final. We all know what happened there. 1999 another preliminary final, up 16-0 at half-time against Melbourne, lost 18-16. 2000 preliminary final again. So we were building towards summit. And we had a really great squad that we built. But I don't know. There was, if you go back and you watch that first half of that match, there's just lots of stuff that happened that you kind of went, Parramatta's not going to win it. And there's a couple of things that Newcastle did which have gone unnoticed. People talk about Scott Sattler, greatest grand final tackle of all time. But you look at Steve Simpson's tackle on Andrew Ryan to stop him from scoring. One of the best tackles you'll ever see. Oh, there's been a few comments. See, when I do the View from the North podcast, because it's on Just Rugby League's channel, I don't get to see the comments. How am I feeling about the grand final? At the moment, I'm still in shock that we're in the grand final, and I'm not nervous. I'm excited though. This, as I said, this is a totally different grand final for Parramatta because 2001 we were overwhelming favourites. 2009 we were on that crazy run, the hot streak, and we weren't favourites, but we weren't outsiders. But for this match, we're clearly the outsider. We're not expected to win. I've watched a lot of previews, especially with Fox League. Everyone on Triple M said Penrith will win. Everyone on Channel 9, John, Svitler, Slater, Gould, Thompson, all of them said Penrith would win. Everyone on Fox League says Penrith's going to win. So I think this might play into our hands because Parramatta do a lot better when we're not expecting to win. Starting to get cut out, matey. What time is it for you when the grand final starts? From Sahan, 9:30 in the morning on Sunday. 9:30 in the morning. I think generally the grand final kicks off about 9:30, 10:30 for us in England. TGC Sports. Power need to. Oh, sorry. Let's just remember, Power love winning the games. They're not supposed to. That's true. Power need to limit Nathan Cleary's kicking game, says Warriors NRL fanatics. Without a doubt. Let's just hope on grand final day that he doesn't see Wonga Blake out there. He kicks to someone else. But in turn, I think that with Taylor and May out, I think Moses and whoever else is kicking, just kick it to Charlie Staines. Just kick it to him all night. Don't kick it anywhere near Toto or Edwards. What's my thoughts on Nathan Brown playing in the grand final? I think it's a good selection, but Nathan Brown really should have been in the squad for the entire year. There's been talks of a rift behind the scenes. Apparently, Nathan Brown were one of the players that cornered Brad Arthur after a match and said, it's getting beyond a joke that you're picking your son when there's other players that deserve to be there more than him. And they both come out and said that there was never a rift or out like that, but we'll never know. We'll have to wait about 5 or 10 years when one of them does an interview on Bloke in the Bar, because I found Bloke in the Bar. That's when things really, when he interviews people, that's when things really come out. Like I remember when he interviewed Anthony Watmore. Anthony Watmore come out and said that he never really wanted to sign with Parramatta. It was just because he had a relationship with Brad Arthur from Manly, and he saw how much Parramatta were offering, and Brad Arthur says, "Just give us one more year or 2 more years." And Anthony Watmore went, "No, no." And then when he said, "Well, we'll give you 800 grand a year," he went, "How much? I'll be there." Straight away. With Brown, I don't think Brown. I just think he's been out of favour for most of the year. I think that's been the case. But I do feel sorry for Bryce Cartwright, even though I think as a human being, Bryce Cartwright, some of the stuff he's done, he's a bit of a scumbag. I think I do feel sorry for him to not be in the grand final. And if you want to know about those reasons why I think Bryce Cartwright's a bit of a scumbag, then I'll be free to tell you, or you can read it about yourself. One of the two. Oh, we got 5 people. 5 people in the chat at the moment. It's kind of weird doing this on your own. If Parramatta win, who do you think will get the Clive Churchill medal? I said in my video Dylan Brown, so I'll stick with that. Yeah, he deserves to be there. Hill Dominant says, "I will use your word. There are scumbags on both sides of the." To be fair, rugby league's never too far away from controversy when it comes up to off the field stuff. I did that video, I think about a year ago, where I had like the worst behaved clubs of the NRL era, and eastern suburb Sydney Roosters were the most they were the worst behaved club. I think they had about 30 off-field incidents since the NRL ever began, which is surprising. You look at how successful they've been, but off the field, their players behave very badly. But on the fields, very good side on the field. How good that 2 Parramatta teams are playing in the grand final tomorrow. It's smashing. I'm not really. I don't watch women's rugby league, but it's good for the club. Of course, growing up, I saw Parramatta play many times on grand final day. Unfortunately, not at the top level. Generally in jersey flag or reserve grade, and we always used to win, probably 95% of the time. And sometimes I used to turn to my dad and I says, "Why can't they do this in like in NRL, New South Wales Rugby League level?" And he went, "I don't know, son. I don't know." And I says, and then you see him beat whoever in the reserve grade grand final, and they lift the trophy. I used to see that were quite common growing up. Like, thoughts on the England World Cup squads? I guess it's all right, I suppose. Pretty mediocre. Unfortunately, there's a lot of players that are injured and they're not there that would have been selected if they were available. Walmsley, Lomax, Lewis Dodd from Saints, Jackson Hastings. I mean, there's a lot of players that if the World Cup would have gone ahead when it would have, I think England would have had a much better squad. But unfortunately, lots of injuries and all that. So I'm not really expecting too much from him. Unfortunately, I will be at the first match. I'm gonna get me tickets soon for the Samoa game, and then I'll be at Riverside Stadium there in Middlesbrough to watch Cook Islands against Tonga. I'll be there for that. TGC Sports says I don't watch a lot of women's rugby, but I hope both Parramatta teams win on grand final. I don't think. Well, in England we've got the women's rugby league competition. I know this year Leeds won it. The year before Saints won it. York City's got a good side in the women's. Um, but what about that Jess Sages? Absolutely gorgeous. There are some really good looking women's players out there. Like, I mean, there's some ones that are not very good looking, but there's some very attractive ones. Like I'd probably see a Jess Sages as pick of the bunch. That's a thing that just I mentioned earlier. That when it comes to Jersey Flegg, SG Ball, Harold Matthews, New South Wales Cup, I've seen Parramatta win several trophies at that level, but I've never seen them win one at the level that really counts. Of course, I think I'm about 6 or 7 year olds. Um, I remember my parents had like the VCR collection, and they had the 81, 82, 83, 86 grand finals on the VCR. So I about 6 or 7. It would have been the mid 1990s, and I remember, and on my own free will, they didn't force me to watch them. I put one in, watched it, the 81, um, the Brett Kenny try, and then 82. I watched all of them on the cassette. And then I remember at school, I used to try to emulate Brett Kenny doing that try in the 81 grand final. And on one occasion, I pulled it off. I couldn't believe it, but I did it. I know Hell Dominance, he watches everything like League One, Championship, Wheelchair, Rugby League, anything pretty much. Well, Penrith won all their grades. If they win on Sunday, then they'll be the first team ever to win everything in the calendar year. I know um, St George in 1985. Every side made the grand final that year, but I think only one of them won on grand final day. I know in 2016, Mounties or Mount Pritchard Mounties, all three of their grades made the grand final, but only one of them won. Hopefully, the NRL grand final isn't one-sided. Um, I don't think it will be. See, I've watched every NRL grand final since 1992, and I can tell you there's been a lot of grand finals where there's been one team where They're the overwhelming favourite. They're expected to win comfortably, and then it's been 10 on a 10. The other team wins. I mean, you had Manly, 1995. They only lost 2 matches for the entire year. They played against the Canterbury side that come, I think, 7th that year. Canterbury won. 1999, nobody expected Melbourne to win that grand final. They did. 2006, Melbourne finished minor premiers by about 10 points. Dominant year, and then in the grand final, they lost against Brisbane. And then they also, there's been a bit of talk about Parramatta's got no big game experience. They've got nobody that's played in a grand final before. But then you look at 2016, a lot of them Cronulla players had never played in a grand final before. And they're up against the Melbourne side that had, some of them have played in several. And Cronulla won that. So anything's possible. Last year, grand final were close. South could have won it. I think I look back at that game and I think if Latrell Mitchell wouldn't have been suspended and he would have played in that grand final, would he have made a difference? Exactly. I said it in my tipping video. The last 2 grand finals that we've been in, 2001 and 2009, we haven't started well at all. We got stage fright. 2001, we were 24-0 down at half time. 2009, we were 10-0 down at half time. And both the second halves of those games, they were mirror image. We come home with a wet seal. We outscored them in the second half, but we just run out of time. And another stat which nobody except for me has said is we haven't scored a try in the grand final in the first half of the grand final since 1983. Because 1986 we're tryless, and then 2001, 2009 we didn't score first half. But I also said in my tipping video, in the 2020 grand final, Penrith were obviously dominant for the entire year. They come up against Melbourne, and Melbourne scored first in the grand final, and then they got another try, and I think after that Penrith didn't know how to react because Penrith had been beating everyone pretty easily throughout the entire year, and it forced them to do stuff that they didn't normally do. And I remember Kickow made a couple of errors. There were a couple of errors from other players, and I think Melbourne really unsettled them. And I think, obviously, I think Penrith have learned from that because even when they were 12-0 down against South, they never panicked. But I think it's absolutely vital that Parramatta start well. Without doubt, the pressure is on. The pressure is on Penrith 100%. As I said earlier, everyone's predicting them to win. All the experts. But as Fago and the Freak said, well, League Freak, he's a Penrith supporter. He said when it comes to grand finals, it's 50-50. It's just whoever shows up on the day. You have to remember 2014, South Sydney hadn't won a grand final since 1971. And pretty much nearly everyone in that squad had never played in the grand final before, except for one or two, and they handled the occasion very well. I think there was so much pressure on them to get the job done, and they did it. But there's a lot. There's a lot riding on. I mean, if Parramatta win on Sunday, it pretty much ends a lot of memes pages out there, ends a lot of Facebook pages, especially I Hate the Parramatta Reels. He built that page with the motto, "This club has 36 years of failure. They're a laughing stock. They're a fucking joke. And if we win, what's he got? Nothing." And I think there's a lot of clubs out there that are hoping that Parramatta don't win. Like, I think if you were a Canberra supporter, you'd be pretty nervous because you'd be thinking, if Parramatta win, then that memes baton for you haven't won a premiership in X amount of years, it gets passed to you. And I think Canberra's flown under the radar for a very long time because everyone goes, "Oh, 36 years," and I think, well, hang on a moment. Canberra haven't won a premiership since fucking 1994. That worked yesterday. Let's talk about them, shall we? All right, there. I can't read your username there. It's in some sort of strange font. Hell Dominant says mentality monsters. Penrith they're there where they are for a reason, without a doubt. But there's been plenty of times throughout history where it's gone the other way. You have to look at, well, I mean, Parramatta themselves. They won 3 straight. 1984, they played against Canterbury. They lost. Then you look at, especially Brisbane in the 1990s. They won back to back, and then it looked like they were going to go 3 in a row, and North Sydney knocked them out. In the 1960s with South Sydney, they were going for 3 in a row. They were playing against a Balmain side that weren't expected to win whatsoever, and Balmain won 11 points to 2. So it can happen, like, for sure. I think because, especially with the way the salary cap is, it's very hard to keep the squad together. A long time ago, I think it was very easy to go to build a dynasty and to go on that consecutive run, but now it's very hard with the salary cap. Held the title long enough, it's Raiders' turn. Although I'm really happy for South, I cheered South in 2014 and I cheered Cronulla, obviously, 2016. It's a double-edged sword because with them both winning, they passed the baton to us. Because I don't know if you're on social media around about that, between sort of, I'd say, 2011 to 2014, the memes and the jokes and everything leveled at South Sydney, it was just relentless, constant, week in, week out, like 3 or 4, 5, 6 memes a week, all about, I remember probably the one that stands out in my mind the most is there was a picture of Parramatta Road in like the 1850s and everyone's on horse and carts. And it says that the South Sydney Grand Final parade, the last time that they won the Grand Final. And then there was another one that had all these dinosaurs, like the Brontosaurus, Tyrannosaurus Rex. And it said, the the last time South Sydney won a premiership, these existed on planet Earth. They were still around. And then obviously when they won it, all them pages went quiet, and then they went, hang on a moment, Cronulla haven't won a premiership, let's attack them. So I used to see pictures of people like those skeletons at a park bench like that, and then see just waiting for Cronulla to win a premiership. There was lots of memes about skeletons and stuff like that was Cronulla, just waiting to win a premiership. And then obviously when they won it, we were next in line. Hopefully we can win it so Canberra get it, so we can get a lot of 1994 memes going. Oh, we definitely won't be in the grand final of winning it next year. If we don't win it this year, we're not winning it next year. Could this be Mitchell Moses' last game with the West Ham? No, he's still contracted for next year, and he's a Parramatta junior. There's a lot of people, like the media says, will Mitchell Moses return home to the West Tigers? Well, he's a Parramatta junior. Initially, Parramatta got rid of him. He went to West Tigers, made his NRL debut there, and then we bought him back for daft money all them years later. But I don't see any reason why he'd want to leave. Going to West Tigers is a poison chalice. As a New Zealand fan, can't really talk about Premiership, sadly. Unfortunately, I think 2002 was their best opportunity. They were leading at half-time against Eastern Suburbs. And then, unfortunately for them, I think it was what Richard Villasati did. He set off a chain reaction, and New Zealand didn't recover from that because it was a very close game. Richard Villasati hit Freddie Fittler high, and the referee gave a penalty. Today it would have been 10 in the bin or send off, and Freddie Fittler were bleeding. But it was that second, as he got hit high, when his head hit the ground, then Villasati went over the top again, and I think the referee either said, well, he either blew a penalty or he gave New Zealand the ball back, and Villasati was the first player to hit the ball back, and Morley smashed him, and all the Eastern Suburbs players just they just lifted after that. And funnily enough, I met Richard Villasati years later. I was working at the hospital there, and he come in for an appointment, and I saw his name straight away, and I looked at him and I went, "Are you Richard Villasati?" And he says, "Aye." And I went, "Are you the Richard Villasati?" And he went, "Yeah, I hope so. I hope there's no other Richard Villasatis." And I went, "Oh, smashing. I remember you." And he went, "What do you remember me for?" And he got like dead serious. And I went, "Oh, I used to play for Balmain, and you played for Cronulla, and you also played for New Zealand, and you played for Australia." And he went, "Oh, yeah. Good times, good times." And I went, "Oh, well, have a nice day." And he said, "All right, I'll catch you later." That were a great try, that 2002 try. 2011, I remember watching that grand final. I don't really think New Zealand were ever in the. I thought Manly they were always on top. I don't really recall any time in that match where I was worried about New Zealand coming back and winning. I think, but I mean, I'm eternally grateful because they knocked Melbourne out in the preliminary final. But this particular hospital that I worked at, we did have a few rugby league players come in at certain times. I remember Nathan Merritt come in, Luke Lewis. I actually met Luke Lewis. I spoke to him for about a minute. Kieran Foran's brother were in there. I remember one time even the Australian head coach of the cricket he come in, Darren Lehman. He were in there as well. Oh, Josh Addo-Carr before he was famous. He was pretty rude, Josh Addo-Carr, I think, because once or twice I actually told him, I says, look, you're not an employee, and you can't just walk around here, because if someone sees you, then I get into trouble. And he kind of went, I don't care. I beat Melbourne, nothing better. When they got knocked out the share against Canberra, I went, I can rest easy now because they're not going to win at the share. I don't care who wins it, as long as it's not them. Yes, I did meet Josh Addo-Carr. His mother actually went to this particular place where I worked, and I remember she actually told me she told me at the time. She said, "My son's devastated." I went, "Why?" And she says, "Well, West Tigers have said that they don't want him anymore." And I went, "What's he going to do?" Oh, he's got a couple of clubs that are interested in him. And then about 2 weeks later, she said, "Oh, he signed with Melbourne, and he's going down there." Even though he said that he wanted to stay at West, but they didn't want him. And then she said, "Oh, but I don't really see him lasting down there because he's like a real he'll get homesick down there." And he ended up lasting what 4 years down there, and now he's back at Canterbury. Anyone but Lee. Come on, Batley. Come on, Batley. Cody Games PlayStation. I know. Warriors has met Mark Tukey. Mark Tukey read out the comment. I made a comment once, and he read it out. Yes, I would. I would go back to Australia for a holiday and for some other things. Cody Games PlayStation. He's at every single South game at that white elephant there at Stadium Australia. Come on, South. Woo! Woo! I'm in Lee on Sunday. Should I go in a Maroons top? You should wear a Wigan top. Aren't you a Wigan supporter? I know that Just Rugby League says that Lee are just another. What he says that they're just a bus stop in Wigan. So I mean, it's funny sometimes with TGC Sports when he does his vlogs and people interrupt him when he's trying to film, and he goes, yeah, yeah, good one, buddy, yeah, like that. It's funny, like Kieran Spot. Kieran Spots is even funnier. I remember he was walking with that camera, and there was all these islanders over on the hill there, and they were all kind of yeah, they were all shouting at him, and he kind of went, yeah, yeah, go Penrith. He didn't know what to do, like. Now, Kieran Sports, did he know he goes for South and Penrith? I can imagine at that preliminary final, he's going, uh, yeah, go South. Yeah, how will you get in? Yeah. And then when Penrith score, no, let me put on my Penrith top. Yeah, Penrith. Woo, Penrith. Yeah. Oh, I. He, he's got the full kit for South. I've seen. I think he went to the West Tigers match. I think against South. Vlogger of the year. It, I'm going to be putting that on the community tab in the next few days to the vote for that. It's going to be very interesting to see who people vote for because there's so many vloggers. I think there's about 20 to 30 vloggers. But, oh, there's tons of vloggers, and it's not only Australian ones. You've also got some people here that do Super League stuff. Like there's Reese T, Planet Dylan, and then like the Australian ones, you got Hainsey, Entertain House's back-to-back champion. He's won the last two, but TGC Sports and Cody Games PlayStation, they're new. Nick from Australia will be up there. Warriors on NRL Fanatics. And you get when it comes to the Super League, you don't get as many people doing videos on Super League stuff. It's not like the NRL. But when it comes to football, though, every man and his dog, every Tom, Dick, and Harry does vlogs because for me, football for my YouTube football channel, I did a vlog of Bury against Bournemouth last year, just before Christmas, and when I was watching on YouTube, there was about at least a dozen people that were at that same match that all did a vlog as well. There was even the Bournemouth fan channel, they did a vlog, and there was about 11 or 12, like a dozen Borough people that did vlogs as well. Pat, Dave K, Penrith by 21. I've only done 2 vlogs of me football channel. I've only just done the 2. I should do more. But I think with vlogs as well, and what makes it more interesting is if you do different teams and you go to different grounds and you do it. Because if you like with a couple of the borough people, they just go to the Riverside Stadium only, and every vlog kind of seems the same. They go to the same ground and it's the same stuff. And all right there, XD Macaroon. All right there. I go. I mean, the vlogs. I love watching the vlogs. It gives you an idea of what it's like to actually go to that stadium and the atmosphere and all that. I've only done 2 vlogs for my Rugby League channel, and I went to the Challenge Cup semi-final at Ellen Road there, and then I went to St James's Park the Magic Weekend. Luckily, we got the win there, Magic Weekend for Saints. And then, of course, 4 in a row. When the Saints go marching in, when the Saints go marching in. Cody Games PlayStation. I think I mean, initially I was very shocked, but with Tony Smith being the new Hull FC coach, he's certainly very experienced. He's been a head coach over here for 20 years plus. It's just, can he turn around that FC squad? And I've noticed that over the last few years, they've got a lot of injuries as well. So surely they have to do better than what they did this year. Hell Dominance has done a lot of vlogs this year. Who do you think will win the grand final? Says XD Macaroon. Well, I'm a Parramatta supporter, so of course I'm going to see a Parramatta. But logically, and if you're looking for the safe money, you'd have to go Penrith for sure. Oh, when the seeds go marching in. I forgot I had this there. Ole, 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 ole. Pare, pare. Best venues I've visited watching the rugby in Australia or here. As I said, it's grand final. It's 50-50. Whoever shows up on the day will win. We've seen in the past where teams don't show up and they get turned over. So I've been to quite a few grounds in Australia actually. See, you can't really compare the atmosphere to a match here to there, because there in Australia there's no singing, there's no chanting, there's no banter. The fans are not segregated. It's a totally different vibe. When you go to some matches in the NRL, the ground announcer actually has to prompt the crowd to do something. Like, I remember when I lived in Townsville, the ground announcer had to prompt the North Queensland supporters to actually make some noise when North Queensland were on the attack. Everyone would just be sat there like dead silent, and then the ground announcer would go, "Come on, North Queensland fans, let's hear it, Cowboys!" And then the crowd would go, "Oh, we have to Cowboys, yeah, Cowboys," like that. You can't compare it, but when it comes to grounds, um, like the old SFS, the one before the one that's just been built now, that were a very good ground to go to for rugby league. The old Parramatta Stadium, the one before Combank or Western Sydney Stadium, very good. Had very good acoustics. You could have 20,000 in there, and it would sound like 40,000. Um, and I love like the old traditional grounds, the suburban ones, like Horn Oval, North Sydney Oval, Henson Park, Belmore Sports Ground. It's really hard to see which one's the best. If there's one stadium in Australia that I'd like to visit, which one would it be? Um, well, one stadium that I'd like to go to. Well, out of all the suburban grounds, I'd probably have to say Shark Park. And I never went to. I never ever went there. I drove past there a few times, but I never actually went inside. But out of the main ones, probably Suncorp Stadium, Lang Park in Brisbane, because people talk it up so much as being this really great ground, and it'd be interesting to go there and see if it's actually all it's cracked up to be. XD Macaroon says, I'm a Newcastle member, so I go to all the home matches and we have a chant, says Newcastle. On repeat. I think you'd like Z Tank 99's channel then because he's a Newcastle supporter. I don't know how old you are though, so it's if you're a Newcastle fan from sort of the beginning or you've been born into it or I'd say Shark Park's getting all that development done. They call it the Woolaware development. They're doing stuff with the Leeds club and but interesting fact, Cronulla are the only club in the NRL that own their own stadium. Everyone else either rents or they don't own their ground. Someone else does. Cronulla is the only one that owns their stadium. Or the old SFS. I went. I've been there for rugby league and football. There were a couple of times because I had a mate that he used to get free tickets for Sydney FC, and sometimes he used to say, "Do you want to come along?" And I'd go, "Okay then," because I'm a massive football fan. I'm not really interested in the A League, but I used to go, and no, always good there, good seats. Looking at some of the vlogs, Ali, the new SFS doesn't really seem too much different to me. I think with grounds like Stadium Australia, uh, you need to get a crowd of at least about 50,000 people for it to be a good atmosphere. Because I've been to games there where it's been 26,000, 28,000, and it just feels so empty and soulless. Um, I went to one match there, Parramatta and West Tigers, first ever bank holiday Monday match. The 50,000 there for that. That the atmosphere were good. And I went there for Tottenham Hotspur against Sydney FC. I think there was 74,000 people there for that. That were all right. I had a good time there, even though I'm not a Tottenham Hotspur supporter. Um, I got I was given some tickets there by a friend that were Tottenham Hotspur. All right, there, Sam Rebel. For me, 3 p.m. From 1908 to 2000, the grand final were played in the afternoon, and it were finished by about 4:30, 5 o'clock in the evening. And the, I think the first grand final started at 11 o'clock. The second started at 1, and then the main one started at 3. And the first grand final to be played at night time were 2001. And it might sound a bit silly, but my dad actually blames that time slot for half of the reason why Parramatta played so poorly in the first half, because he went, when you think about it, you're that nervous and you just want it to you just want it for it to be over and done with. But the fact that you have to wait all day and then all the way at 8 o'clock at night to play a match, it's not really good for your nerves, like waiting all that time. But certainly for me, afternoon. There's so many people on Facebook that say, I've got a family, I've got youngins and all that, and unfortunately they don't get to watch the grand final because they're asleep. They fall asleep, or it's bedtime. They don't get to see it. And then I'll tell you, like, the contrast. I'm a Richmond supporter. 2017, the grand final, it kicked off about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, finishes about 4, and then after it finishes, you've got all that afternoon and evening to get on the pints and celebrate and all that. I remember being at the pub after the grand final finished, and the two locals that I drunk at, they'd go, "Oh, it's 10:30. We're closing in an hour. Closing time in an hour." And then everyone would go, "Fuck." And then we go to the next pub and they'd say, "Oh, we're closing in 15 minutes." And we go, "But it's NRL grand final night." And they'd say, "We don't care. We don't care what time, what day it is. We're closing." So you go, how are you supposed to celebrate and drink and get drunk and all that? Grand final finishes too late for me, like. I actually did a video on the Newcastle Rebels, the original Newcastle, the one that were in the original New South Wales Rugby League competition in 1908 and 1909. It's because of it's all down to TV rates and TV deals and all that. I don't really like the over commercialization of the game these days. There were some points when I lived in Australia where I went, um, I can't be bothered with the NRL at the moment. I'm going to go watch New South Wales Cup. There was plenty of times where I didn't watch an NRL match. I used to go watch Newtown play. I used to go watch North Sydney play because I liked it. I just preferred the New South Wales Cup. No bunker, no video referee. It's only a tenner to get in. Cheap food and drinks. The over commercialization isn't there. Like I notice now, they go number one, sponsored by Mitsubishi Hyundai. It's Dylan Edwards, and number two, sponsored by uh, this thing, fucking Brian Toto, and you kind of. Whereas when you go to New South Wales Cup, they just go number one, this person, number two, this person. He had some good days out as well. Um, North Sydney Oval, especially Henson Park and all that. There's been a couple of Newtown matches where they've actually got a bigger crowd than some of the NRL matches that have happened that week. True story. I think there were a game. It were Manly against the Gold Coast. It only got 6,000 at Brookfield Oval, but the Henson Park match, Newtown against New Zealand, got about 7,000 people. If I'm in shock and disbelief that we're in the grand final. I wouldn't really see that. I wouldn't really see I'm nervous. I'd see I'm a bit more. I'm excited. There's a lot. There's a lot riding on this game for Parramatta. Not so much just for the players and for the club, but also um, it'll kill social media for a couple of days. I know that much. It'll kill a lot of memes pages. As I've said on the group chat today, there's a lot of clubs out there that are hoping that we don't win, like West Tigers for one, Canberra. If you're a Canberra supporter, you'd be pretty nervous right now. Now West Tigers. Whenever I criticise West Tigers online, their supporters always go, "Well, at least we won a premiership this century. Yous haven't," and it's the only thing they've got because they've got nothing else to come back with. So if we win, when it comes to arguments, that they're fucked. Certainly, Carberry Bankstown are hoping that we don't win. Manly. There are a lot of Canterbury supporters on Instagram today when they do that table every year, the tally of all the Premiership winners, and there's all these Canterbury supporters going, "We've won 8 and Parramatta's only won 4." Ha ha. Well, it kind of helps when you won 2 premierships when we didn't even exist yet. So you got a bit of a head start there, like. Uh, teriyaki Japanese chicken spots. West Tigers won't win a premiership for at least 20 years. Don't tell All Out Champa that. He won't be happy. All right, XD Macaroon, I'll catch you later. Nah, it's hard to tell what's going to happen in the future, though. Because, as I said, in the past, I've seen people say South City's never going to win another premiership, and then they did. And then people have said Cronulla's never going to win a premiership ever, and they did. I've said in the past, it's like a law of it's like a law of averages. The longer that you're in a competition, the more chance that you've got of winning it. Of course, you don't want to be like, if you remember if you're an EFL watcher, 2016, when Footscray, or as they know now, Western Bulldogs, won the flag, they showed a lot of their fans in the crowd, and there was people in wheelchairs and people that were old, and they were going, when I was a young boy, I watched Footscray win the flag, and I'm still here to watch them win another. And you go, fucking hell. Hope that's not me, like with Parramatta, for sure. When your team wins a grand final, you want to, jump up and, yeah, let's get on the pints and celebrate. And you don't want to be like that, where you can't really. I mean, you're there, but you can't really do now. You can't celebrate. It's going to be interesting with the new draw next year with Redcliffe coming in. I hope they're not going to be just called the Dolphins. How fucking daft is that? What video have you got planned on your channel next? The Canterbury Bankstown. Oh, yeah, Canterbury Bankstown. The season review for Canterbury Bankstown. I'm not doing a review for every club, because there's some clubs where the interest is always very low and you don't really get many views. I've noticed if you do any sort of Gold Coast related review, you don't get any views. Even the other YouTubers that do Gold Coast stuff, like Nick from Australia and all that type of stuff, even when he attacks the club and says some very controversial stuff, nobody click. None of their fans. Well, they don't really have any fans to begin with. Have you noticed on the NRL memberships website that the Gold Coast don't publish their membership numbers? All right there, Patrick Gainey. Well, the thing that I've noticed, though, that the Gold Coast don't have many fans, but when it comes to prominent people sort of on social media or on that are sort of well known, they've got quite a few. Like, you got BKR Sports, you got Clarkie's NRL column, and you've got Rugby League in my opinion, but they've all three of them have got very strange stories about how they become Gold Coast fans. Like, Clarkey said, I remember a long time ago, he said that he used to be a Brisbane supporter, a Newcastle supporter, a Parramatta supporter, and he said that he was living on the Gold Coast, and he kind of went, why am I going for Parramatta for when I live on the Gold Coast? And then that's when he switched. Rugby League, in my opinion, is from Penrith, born and raised in Penrith. All his family are Penrith supporters, but he said in one video that he didn't like the fact that he was forced to go for Penrith. So he became an Eastern Suburb supporter, but then he started to go for Gold Coast because of his late mother. But I bet you he feels daft now. Everyone else in his family's Penrith supporter, and they're going through this golden period, and he sat there in the corner going for Gold Coast. I bet you he's like this, his head against the brick wall, and then his family's going, what's going on in there? Keep it down. And he's going, why did I fucking go for the Gold Coast over Penrith? Fucking hell, like that. Yeah. What's the highest membership that any club's ever had? I noticed on the NRL membership website the other day that Melbourne have 40,000 members, but I don't count their figures as being entirely true, because the last 2 years they've been giving out free memberships to everyone. Well, I think they've probably got about 6,000 members. The Gold Coast generally they've got about 5,000 to 6,000. I remember that 2007 grand final actually between Melbourne and Manly. If you can find the replay, that tackle that Billy Slater and Michael Crocker did on Brett Stewart, if that happened today, I think whoever was on top of that tackle would have been sent off. I think it might have been Michael Crocker, because Brett Stewart caught the ball. It was a bomb, and I think Billy Slater tackled him low, and Crocker come over the top and knocked him clean out. And I don't even think Melbourne got penalised over that. But at that stage they were about 2 million Australian dollars over the cap. So me dad actually said, he said about maybe 2.5 years before they got caught, he says how that Melbourne side is under the salary cap is beyond me. He said, if you tell me that Melbourne side is under the cap, you're fucking joking. Because he said there's no way you can have all them players, Slater, Croc, Inglis, Falau, all these people in the one side and be under. He said it's fucking bullshit. And then 3 years later they got caught. How do you think NRL can improve attendance and memberships? I think for attendance, I mean, making the tickets cheaper, the food and drink cheaper, which is something that they can't control. Um, Stop playing matches at Stadium Australia and the bigger grounds. Take because rugby league's always been a community game and a working class game. Um, I remember when I lived in Australia, sometimes I used to be at the pub and I'd go, "Oh, West Tigers are playing tonight or tomorrow," and everyone would put their drink down and go, "Oh yeah, who are they playing? Oh, they're playing against so and so. Oh yeah, where's it at? Leichhardt, is it?" And I go, "No, it's at Stadium Australia," and they go, "Fuck that, I'm not going there." Gus Gould is a commentator. I don't mind him. He goes on a bit, but he knows what he's talking about. Gus Gould, two-time Premiership winner as a coach, most successful New South Wales coach in state of origin history. So he knows his stuff. Nah, I think he's all right. A lot of people don't like him, but I think he's sound. Bold predictions for next year. This year hasn't even finished yet. It's Jason Reeder, aka no, Jason Reeder, Jack Reacher's cousin. Thoughts on Ray Warren? He's the best rugby league commentator of our generation and the previous generation. But then again, I mean, I thought that Rex Mossop did a very good job before Ray Warren, and then before him, you had Frank Hyde. So they're all good. It was Crocker the dog. I actually remember that 2007 NRL Grand Final. I watched it at Blacktown RSL, and the moment the game finished, we got kicked out. They closed everything down, and I went, isn't this club open for another hour?" And they went, "No," and they went, "Get out." And I remember when we were walking to another pub, we kind of went. I swear, some of the people that work at that club must have been Manly supporters, because I know it. Like, especially the one that kind of ushered me out, he was really bitter about it. I think he were a Manly supporter. The NRL is a working class game. That's how, I mean, the rugby league's always been a working class game. It's never been an upper class game. But I think the problem with the food and the drink is that um, the NRL have no control over how much. They don't have any control over that. I think other people have control over that. So most disappointing team in 2022. Um, it's not West Tigers. It's not New Zealand. Uh, I probably have to see Newcastle, I suppose. However, the way that Brisbane finished the year were very disappointing, because I think a lot of people have forgotten this, but I think about a month out from finals, Brisbane had already done some promos with Fox League, where all the players got there and had their photos taken and had all the animations done, because Fox League had them already booked in for the finals, I think. So they had to scrap all that. Most disappointing team, yeah, I'd probably have to go with Newcastle. Thoughts on the Reynolds Ilya situation a year in? Um, it started off really good for Brisbane, I think, with Reynolds. Everyone went, yes, this is the right decision from Brisbane to sign Reynolds, and and South daft for letting Reynolds go. And then as the season went on, it kind of went the reverse way. But Lachlan Ilias, he's a Greek god, so. Oh, it's Pro Enzo Vids, formerly known as NRL Vids 090. The fantastic rugby league show, sponsored by Fantastic Noodles. That is, yeah, that's probably one of the most embarrassing things that's happened recently. I remember 2017, the Daily Telegraph, they did an article where they went saying it's going to be a Sydney Grand Final this year because there's 6 Sydney teams in the Grand Final, in the final series, and we're dominating. And then it ended up being a North Queensland against Melbourne Grand Final. The thing I don't really like is you see some people online they call South Sydney chokers and all that. Really, if you look at all the preliminary finals they've been in, there's only been one or two where they've been the favourites. Most of the others they've been the outsider. They haven't been favourite to win. Thoughts on Nicholas Hines winning Dally M? I've never really been in the Dally M's myself. It gets really toxic. Like all them awards are very toxic because everyone just argues with each other. I suppose he deserves it. I don't get to see every match, so I can't really make a definitive answer. I think the Dally M system's a bit like the Man of Steel. The Man of Steel award were a bit controversial this year as well because everyone thought that Jai Field would win and then Brodie Croft got it. The, the way the Man of Steel awards are done, it's so amateur compared to the NRL. Our awards are done on a YouTube live stream. Looks like someone's put their webcam in a dining hall somewhere, and the NRL's is this big event, big red carpet, and everyone gets dressed up, and it's on television, and ours is the opposite. Thoughts on the Ben Hunt situation? Um, really, as I said, I don't really get to see every match, and I don't really know how Ben Hunt's gone throughout the entire year with St George, but it'd be a massive blow if he did leave. It's Fabian Go. Oh, right there, Fabian Go. We've got 8 people in the chat at the moment. Which is all right. I think some people are probably still asleep and all that. I was meant to be on Fergo and the Freaks podcast tomorrow, but that got cancelled. All right there. It's my brother-in-law. He's on the fucking chat, man. You have to keep Brad Arthur as head coach next year. But ever since he's taken the job in 2014, there's always been people that go, he's going to get sacked, and this is the end of the line, and he always manages to still be there. Warriors NRL fanatics has been here from the very start of the stream. Warriors NRL religious zealots. Biggest underachiever in the NRL this year. Is that the? I think that's probably the scene as most disappointing, isn't it? I'd probably have to see Newcastle. Oh yeah, Tasty Jake Chicken's videos at the start. I I think that they should. It's I said it years ago. I went. It's gonna one day. There's gonna be a few matches where this forward pass thing's gonna it's gonna come back and it's gonna be very controversial. Manly were very disappointing this year. Newcastle. I think the way that Cronulla's season ended were very disappointing. Coming second and then being bundled out like that. Warriors just asked the question. Each were very hot and cold this year, I think. They started off very poorly, but they finished very strongly. And they'll be there again next year. They'll be in the final again. I think Latrell Mitchell's a centre myself. I think he'd be better at centre. That's just my own personal opinion. Oh, starting to lash down outside again. It's been a miserable day outside. The England squad's quite mediocre, but we are missing a lot of players due injury and other reasons. I think at best we'll probably make it out of the group and then lose. I think there's a lad I speak to. He's a St Helens supporter, and he said if we make it out of group there, we play either Tonga or PNG. And I says we'd probably beat PNG, but we wouldn't beat Tonga. We're definitely not winning the World Cup though. Our best chance was in Australia there, where we lost 6-0. That was the best chance to win us. The most disappointing thing about England for this World Cup is the kit. Doesn't even look like an England kit. Looks like a Scottish kit. A few months ago when I saw the draw, I says we'll beat Samoa easy, like. But now with all the defections and with the squad that they've named, I think England's going to have a really tough game on their hands in the opening match, which hopefully I'll be there for. St James's Park. Come on, England. Come on, England. Come on, England. Oh, and they get it in shot there. Ole, 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 ole. Hold the ball. I've watched the video on that about the Greek Rugby League. A very interesting story. I think they'll be whipping boys at the World Cup, but I think just being there will be good. I my thoughts on the International Rugby League is it should be the same rules as football with FIFA. So if you choose to play for a country and you run out for a competitive match, that's it. You cannot change countries after that. So if you want to play for Samoa or Tonga, fine. But in the future, if Australia come calling, sorry, you've pledged your allegiance to Samoa or Tonga, you can't go back. We've seen that happen in football with a couple of players that were either born or they're raised in England and they've played a couple of friendlies for England, but then they've decided to play for someone else, and then later on, when they become a better player, and there's talk about them uh, doing this and that. Unfortunately, they can't play for England now because they've already decided to go and play for someone else, like Wilfried Zaha, for example. Cody Games PlayStation says New Zealand will win. I remember in 2008 when they won the World Cup, I was at this pub, and I think everyone in there were going for Australia. And when Billy Slater did that, when he decided to knock the ball back in and then New Zealand scored, the pub went dead silent. Everyone went, "What the fuck?" Just went totally silent. But that's my thoughts on the eligibility rules and all that. Keep it just if you pick someone, that's who you stay with. We don't want any more Andrew Fafitas that are playing for everyone. Thoughts on Tedesco against Slater? Um, to be fair, I didn't really watch much of Billy Slater. I've seen more of Tedesco. So, of course, I can't really give you a proper answer because of my hatred towards Melbourne and anyone associated with him. So, of course, I'm probably going to lean towards Tedesco. Dylan Edwards, he just does his job, doesn't he? He's not the fastest fullback. He's not the flashiest. He's not the most skillful, but he just does his job. He's just um, in years to come, we might look at him like Parramatta won the 4 premierships, and they had the same fullback for all 4, and that was Paul Taylor. And when you think about that side from the 80s, you think about other players, but Paul Taylor he played 150 matches through that period. And I remember Peter Sterling said for the 1986 grand final, he said that he shouldn't have won. He shouldn't have won the Clive Churchill. Paul Taylor should have won it. So there you have it. All right, Thai Jake Chicken Sports. I'll catch you later. Ole, 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 ole. Pare, pare. Thai Jake Chicken Spots. We'll never know what TGC Sport stands for. Could mean anything. Total Job Conglomeration Sports. Well, I might answer a couple more questions because it's getting close to where it's getting close to 1 o'clock in the morning here. I suppose anyone that missed out on the on the stream can watch it back later. It's nobody. Tiny Joan Collins, nice to meet you. Held dominance. Hashtag grow the game. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Hi, and welcome back to the channel of Held Dominance. Anthony here. Thoughts on Klein being referee this weekend? Isn't he the one that sin binned about 7 players about a fortnight ago? All right there, Daniela Torres. Buenos dias. All right. Daniela is my wife. I did not know that. There's been quite a few people on the chat today. Klein sin bin grand final. I don't think anyone will ever outdo Ben Cummins, will they? But in seeing that, when you look back at that game, Canberra had plenty of chances to win it, and they didn't win it. And when Cooper Cronk were sin bins, he didn't score a single point when he were off. So it's a bit like the North Queensland game. Yes, it were a forward pass, but North Queensland were up by 8 points, and they didn't see their chances, I think. Because I didn't get to see the game, but I was listening to it on the radio at work. And when they went, North Queensland's winning 20 points as well, they went, that's it. Parramatta's fucked. Season over. We're not coming back from that. But North Queensland didn't sort of seal the match, I think. It's a bit like 2017. Parramatta against Melbourne. We lost 18 points to 16. That first try that Melbourne scored were off a forward pass. But and very similar. One of Melbourne's players got sin binned and we didn't score any points. We didn't capitalise on that. And then when Melbourne got all their players back, they scored 2 tries and went in front, and then they never looked back. So how's the pound going over there? Shite. I think it's the lowest it's ever been. Hola, buenos días, ¿cómo está? ¿Qué tal? Mucho gusto. Held dominance again. So it looks like I might end the stream now. I think everyone's kind of leaving or not really seeing much. But I'd just like to say thank you, everyone that's tuned in tonight. And of course, the grand finals on Sunday. So let's go, Parramatta. Howie! Let's see if we can win after 36 years. All right. So I'll catch us all later in the next stream. All right. Tatty bye for now.